process? Collect
requirements.
In order to collect requirement, you would be collecting requirement on what? On the project. The high level definition of the project is there in the project charter. So output of develop project charter. Project charter is fed as an input, and you would be gathering requirement from whom? Stakeholder. Excellent. So the stakeholder register. So what happens? You come out with requirement documentation, and how you are going to collect requirement? You have come out with your requirement management plan, which has given you an idea as to how you are going to manage requirement in your project, isn't it? So how you are going to prioritize your requirement? That has already come from your scope management plan. That has already come out as the output of plans scope management. So what happens now? You have the requirement management plan, you have the project charter, you have the stakeholder register, and you come out with your requirement documentation and requirement feasibility matrix. Can all of you recollect?
Yes.
Can all of you see the flow?
Right.
The flow. And what are the tools and techniques? See, remember we have the interviews, focus groups,
brainstorming,
excellent, facilitated workshops, group creativity techniques.
Delphi.
Yes, in group creativity techniques we have seen brainstorming, we have seen nominal group techniques, we have seen Delphi techniques. Then we have seen group decision making techniques.
Interviews.
No, group decision making techniques were 4: unanimous, majority,
plurality, and dictatorship.
Then we have seen prototype, we have seen questionnaires and surveys. Can all of you remember?
Yes.
Then, so the requirement documentation and the requirement feasibility matrix, you came out as an output. You came out with them as output. The requirement documentation is fed as an input for which process? Next process. Define scope. And you came out with your scope statement. Now the scope statement that you get at this point of time, this is not the mutually accepted chosen one.
Right. Create WBS.
And you come out with your scope baseline. Clear?
Yes.
The tool and technique which you use out here was called
decomposition.
What was decomposition?
Breaking down.
You broke down the high level deliverable into more manageable work components. Lower level deliverables. Okay. Now in the WBS we had seen work packages, we had seen planning packages. What was the work package? The lowest level of the deliverable was called the work package, which cannot be further subdivided. Planning package, that element in the WBS which we know it has got more content, which we have not broken down now, which we are going to break down later. That's what was called planning package. Clear?
Yes.
Clear, Deepak? Now, so you have come out with the scope baseline. Now, what was the scope baseline? Scope baseline was a combination of
WBS dictionary and mutually accepted scope.
And mutually accepted scope statement. Mutually accepted between whom? Performing organization and the
customer.
Client. I am enjoying standing out here. Okay. So now what happens after you have come out with the scope baseline? Next we go to project time management. The first process was what? Plan.
Schedule management.
Wherein you come out with the schedule management plan.
Right.
Now what were the inputs for planning?
Project management plan, project chart.
Yes, plan schedule, project management
OPA,
plan,
EEF.
charter, siblings, output you came out with the schedule management plan.
Right.
And that, so then what happens? Then you had
define scope or define activities.
Now in order to define activity, what is the starting point for defining activity? It is the work package. Because in the work package, that is the lowest level deliverable. So we need to define the actionable items which we need to perform in order to reach that lowest level deliverable. So in order to define activity, what were the inputs apart from the scope management plan? Your scope baseline, excellent. Is it clear why it is the scope baseline?
Yes.
Clear? Satta?
Yeah.
Because in the scope baseline you have the WBS. In your WBS you have the lowest level WBS, which is your work package. So you need to identify the activities which you need to perform in order to reach that lowest level deliverable. So you get your activity list, activity attributes, milestone list. Fed as an input to the next process of sequence activities. You come out with your project schedule and work diagram. Then estimate activity resources. In order to estimate activity resources, you need to know what are the activities which needs to be performed. Isn't it? You come out with your activity resource requirement. Depending on what resources would be deploying, accordingly you estimate activity duration. You get your activity duration estimate. And you will be also looking into the resource calendar, that is development of the resources. Now after you have got the activity duration estimate, then what happens? You club the output of all the outputs of the previous processes in order to get the schedule for the project. So the next process was what? Develop schedule. In order to develop the schedule, what happened? You had the outputs of all the previous processes. Schedule management plan, activity list, activity attributes, project schedule network diagram, activity resource requirement, activity duration estimate, resource calendar. They were all fed as input for developing schedule, and you came out with your schedule baseline. Clear?
Right.
Now, for project cost management, what were the processes?
Plan, cost,
cost
management.
Excellent. You came out with the cost management plan. Okay. Now again the inputs were
project management plan, project charter, siblings.
Excellent. And tools and techniques were the same. Now up to your and what were the other processes for planning? Estimate cost and determine
Budget.
budget. In order to estimate cost, what were the inputs that you required apart from scope management, apart from cost management plan? In order to estimate cost?
The
Yes. Okay, you need to know what are the deliverables, you know the activities, then only you will be able to estimate that, you know the cost of that, you know the coming. The cost, you got the activity cost estimates, you got the basis of the estimate, that is the logic on the basis of which you arrived at the estimate, and these were also fed as input for determining the budget, and you came out with your cost performance baseline, or in other words, the budget for the particular project. Now what has happened? You have arrived at the budget, and when you were estimating the cost, you also looked into human resource plan.
Right. The resources.
Register, the schedule, yes. Now why is it that you looked in the human resource plan? Because the human resource plan tells you what profile of people you would be requiring, when would you be requiring the profiles, how long would you be continuing with the profiles, when would you be releasing the profiles, and the risk register also. What are the potential risks that you have in your project? So you also need to have adequate buffer for the same. Now as of now we have got some human resource plan and risk register. See, when you're planning, it is not that you like at the same time you also need to come up with your human resource plan, and also you're also doing risk planning simultaneously. So it is not that it is only like this way. As you have to plan simultaneously. So in human resource plan, what happens? Where is project human resource management? There we have seen plan human resource. You came out with your human resource plan, and this human resource plan was fed as an input to this. Similarly, when it comes to project risk management, we had plan, risk management, then identify risk. Isn't it? Risk management plan was fed as an input for identifying risk. We came out with the risk register as an output of identify risk. Then we had perform qualitative
risk analysis.
We performed quantitative risk analysis, and we planned the risk
responses.
Okay, so the risk register is also used as an input for estimating cost. Isn't it? Is it clear? Clear all of you?
Yes.
Now, so what happens? We have got the budget. Okay. Now, while we were developing the schedule, we have seen critical path, we have seen critical chain. Remember? What was critical path? The longest possible path in the network with 0 and negative feedback. Now, we have remembered. Do you remember how we calculate the critical path?
Yes.
We applied the forward pass method, we applied the
backward pass
method. In the forward pass method, what happened? We have seen how we calculated the early start, early finish for each and every activity. Then in the backward pass method, we calculated the late start, late finish. Then how did we calculate float? What was we had seen total float, we had seen free float. Remember?
Yes.
What was total float? Number of days by which an activity can be delayed without delaying the final finish date of the project. That was the total float.
Right.
Remember? What was the free float?
The number of days
by which an activity
can be delayed without delaying the next activity.
Without delaying the early start date of the successful activity.
Yes.
That was what was free float. We had seen that. What was critical chain? First we calculated the critical path. Then we looked at the availability of the resources. Depending on the availability of the resources, we recalculated the critical path, and that recalculated critical path was known as the critical chain. You have seen that?
That's right.
Great. Next, similarly, we came out with our quality management, that was plan, quality management. So you came out with your quality management plan. What were the tools and techniques that we used in plan quality management? Seven. Yes. What were the 7 quality tools that we have seen?
Fishbone.
Yes. What? Yes. Cause and effect diagram. That was Friedman analysis. Then
Histogram.
Histogram. Excellent. Control chart.
Control chart.
Pareto chart.
Pareto chart.
Scatter diagram.
Scatter diagram. Run
Flow
chart.
charting.
Run chart is for Pareto chart.
No.
What was Pareto chart? Pareto chart is also
80-20.
principle. 20.
80-20.
20% of the causes give rise to 80% of the
Problems, right?
Isn't it? You have seen that? Scatter diagram we have seen. Sorry, we have seen flow chart also. Clear?
Yes.
Are you getting the picture?
Yes.
Excellent. So then, so we have seen the quality management plan also coming out of it. Then risk we have done it today. So I'm not getting deeper into it. Okay. For project procurement management, we've also seen the planning process. What was it?
Plan procurement management.
So plan procurement management. Okay. So we'll be coming out with the procurement management plan. The procurement management plan would be guiding you as to how you would be managing procurement in your project.
Right.
You also would be coming out with the procurement statement of work which you need to give to the prospective vendor. Okay. Then source selection criteria on the basis of which you would be selecting your vendor or vendors. Then
the bid.
most importantly, make or
Buy analysis.
Because
Decision.
if when you decide to go ahead with procurement, then only you will be going ahead with all the other project procurement management. So now what happens? You have come up with these plans. Also, coming from project communication management. Plan communication management. You've come out with the communication management plan. Okay, what does the communication management plan tell you? How you will manage communication. In your product? What level of information needs to flow from whom to whom, using which technology and how frequent, that also needs to be defined.
Yeah.
Clear? And when it comes to stakeholder, the planning process that we had was plan stakeholder management. Okay. Now after you've got this subsidiary plans, along with that, the change management plan is also a very important plan. Because remember, change is a very constant feature in your project. You cannot avoid change. There would be changes which would be happening in your project. So you need to design a process by which you will be managing changes. So that gets defined in change management through the change management plan. So after you have come out with individual plans, all these plans are fed as an input to
project management
the process
plan.
of develop project management
plan,
and you come out with the
project management
plan, which is the project management plan. So your project management plan is an integration, collation, unification of
all the subsidiary plans.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So what are the inputs for develop project management plan? You have the project
charter,
you have
the subsidiary plan,
other processes, the siblings are there. Clear? And again expert judgment, presentation technique. So now planning is clear?
Yes.
Now after you've got the plan in place, now what happens? Why do you need the plan? Because the plan will be telling you what you have to do and how you have to do it. So the plan would be guiding us as to what to do, as to how to do, and what also we have to do. So the next process that we had was direct and manage project work. In edition 4 we have direct and manage project execution. In edition 5 the same process has been renamed as
direct and manage process work.
So we have
project
direct
work
and manage
project work.
Now in order to direct and manage project work, what are the inputs? We require the
project management plan.
Along with the project plan, what happens? You require the approved change request.
Right.
Now, we have seen that the CR has a life cycle. The CR would be going to the CCB, the change control board. Change control board would be holistically reviewing this particular change request with respect to the entirety of the project, and they would be taking a decision whether they have approved or they have rejected it. And the approved change request needs to incorporate, needs to implement it. How is it going to be implemented? It will be implemented through execution only. So what happens? You come out with your deliverables at this particular point. There could be change requests, and whenever there is a change request, project plan, project document accordingly will be getting updated. And the tools and techniques that we used out here was PMIS. Remember?
Yes.
Project Management Information System. Now, information needs to be exchanged across the project information, across the project ecosystem. That is what happens through PMIS. Within PMIS, we have seen CMS, Configuration Management System, and the subset of CMS
change control system.
CCS or change control system. Excellent. Now, for project scope management, did we see any process for executing? No. Time, Did we see? No. Cost, did we see?
No.
For quality, what was the process that we had?
Perform quality assurance.
Assurance. Excellent. Now, we perform quality assurance on process, not on
Not the
deliverables.
product.
We need to ensure that the process is in place. Why? Because if the process is in place, we can expect, we can assume the deliverables are also in place. Isn't it? And we perform quality control on the deliverables. Clear?
Clear.
For human resource management, what are the processes that we have been executing? We had three processes. What were they? Acquire project team.
Develop project team.
Excellent. Develop
Manage project team.
and
Manage.
manage project team. So in order to acquire the project team, onboarding is happening through this particular process. So you require the human resource plan, because the human resource plan told us what profile of people would be requiring, when would be requiring, how would be, how long would be continuing, and when would be releasing those entities, individuals. So you had the project staff assignments also, and the project specific resource calendar is getting created. Clear? Then after you had the resources, then what happened? We needed to build the competency level of the individuals, be it with respect to domain, be it with respect to technology, be it with respect to soft skills, whatever. So the competency development happened, and as it happened, then they were given assignments, they were working on the assignments, so you have to manage the project team. Okay. Then we had seen as the project team members are working together, we had seen the 5 stages of team development. Remember what were the 5 stages of team development? Forming, storming, norming, performing, and journey. Remember, first the team is getting formed, then there are ego clashes, there is friction.
Storming.
That is in storming, that needs to be subsided through norming. Then what happens? The job at hand, that
performing.
is very important, that is performing. And once the job has been successfully completed,
adjourning.
then the team is disbanded through adjourning. Remember, then we had, as a part of managing your project team members, as a part of team development, as a part of managing project team members, we had to resolve conflicts. We might need to resolve conflicts. We have seen conflict management. We have seen the methods for resolving conflict. Remember what were the methods that we have seen for resolving conflict? Withdrawal,
confrontation.
We have seen
smoothing.
Smoothing, excellent. We have seen collaborating. And we have seen forcing.
Forcing, yeah.
Then we have seen the different management styles. We have seen autocratic, excellent. We have seen
democratic.
Yes, bureaucratic. We have seen laissez-faire. Okay, laissez-faire was when we were giving free rein. We have seen conflict managers, isn't it? We have seen bureaucratic, excellent. We have seen the types of power also. What were the types of power that we have seen? We have seen excellent. That was the formal power. That was the legitimate power which the company has bestowed upon you. We have seen the expert power, which you gained by virtue of your experience, by your knowledge. Then we have seen power to give you positive consequences, that is reward. Then we have seen penalty, and we have seen referent power. Okay, can you visualize the picture?
Yes.
Great. Then we have seen the motivational, theories which were given to us by different motivational gurus. We had seen Friedrich Hesberg's theory. What did Hesberg say? Hesberg said that in fact he listed a couple of hygiene factors, and he said that if you are not having those hygiene factors, what is going to happen? Your productivity is going to go down. However, having said so, if you are having those hygiene factors, it does not necessarily mean that your productivity is going to go up.
Right.
So what he said was that if you are having those hygiene factors, it does not necessarily mean that your productivity is going to shoot up. But if you are not having those hygiene factors, your productivity is going to go down. Okay. Then we had Abraham Maslow's theory, hierarchy of needs. What did he say? He said first the physiological needs to be fulfilled.
Security.
After the physiological needs have been taken care of, then security. Once security needs have been taken care of, excellent. Then social needs, love, affection, then self-esteem, and then self-actualization. This is how it happens. Great. Then we have seen McGregor's theory of X and Y. What did McGregor say? There are 2 categories of individuals. One
will not work.
Lazy, not interested in working, not willing to take any responsibility. Okay. And Y category of individuals, those who are willing to take that responsibility by themselves. Okay. Now, obviously, for both type of individuals, you need to have different motivational techniques. Okay. So X category of people would understand Danda, isn't it? And Y category of people would love to engage themselves, in management. They would be more participative. Now William Auchi said that in fact it is not necessary that we only have XMY category of people. You could be having a combination of people and you could be reacting to a situation depending on the situation. Okay, as and when, as and how situation comes to you. Then we also have seen Victor Bloom's theory. Victor Bloom was the most practical of the motivational gurus. What did Victor Bloom say?
He said that the work that I'm doing is that enriching.
First, in fact, the work which I'm doing, is it important?
Is it important?
If it is important,
am I getting
going to be rewarded?
rewarded?
And if I'm going to be rewarded, what is going to be the
value of the reward?
That's it. Clear? So these were.
I believe in that.
Me too.
Okay. So he was one of the most practical of the motivational gurus. Okay, so this is what we are seeing in team management and in team development. These are the things which we need to use. Clear? Now, for communication, what was the process that we used? Did we have any process under executing for project communication management?
Manage communication.
Yes, excellent. We need to manage communication. Under risk, did we have any process? No. Under procurement, yes. What was the process?
Conduct procurement.
Now, conduct procurement was the process of selecting the vendor sellers and awarding the contract to the particular vendor or seller. That was what happened in conduct procurement.
Right.
In order to perform conduct procurement, what do you needed? Procurement management plan, procurement statement of work, isn't it? And make or buy decision, which was very important. Procurement documents, isn't it? Your RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, isn't it?
Make or buy has already happened in the first in the plan procurement. That's already happened.
Output is make or buy decision.
Okay.
That is once you know that yes, you're going ahead with procurement, then only you're getting into selecting the vendor, isn't it? And you will be getting this, the quotations from the different vendors, sellers' proposals, and you need to evaluate the seller's proposal, and eventually you'll be awarding the contract. Okay, eventually you will be awarding the relevant contract. So what happens as an output? You have agreement between the buyer and the seller. Okay, so you have the selected sellers and you have the agreement also. And change request also. Okay, and whenever there is a change request project plan and you call the department is going to get updated. Great. And for project stakeholder management, what was the process that we have seen executing? Manage stakeholder engagement. Because now that you are in the execution mode, there could be a lot of changes, and whenever there is change,
documents will be updated.
Yeah, documents will be updated, but
change request.
Yes, whenever there is a change, in fact, whenever there is change, what happens? The expectation from, in fact, of the stakeholders would be changing also. You need to the expectations needs to be met for each and every change request. Okay, for each and every change which is happening in the project, accordingly, in fact, the stakeholders' expectation would also be changing. So you have to manage the stakeholders' engagement, isn't it? So that's the reason you would be looking into the change logs, and as an output, you would be coming out with the issue logs, because you would be capturing the issues which would have emerged as a part of managing the stakeholders' engagement. Clear? Now, for monitoring and controlling, so these were the processes that we had seen under executing. Can you see the workflow? Is it getting clear?
Yes.
Crystal clear or clear?
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear, great. Now for monitoring and controlling, we have seen two processes under integration. What were they? One was monitor and control project work.
Integrated change control.
And perform
integrated change control.
Now in order to monitor and control project work, what do you require? You require the project plan, you require your
actuals.
You would be comparing your project plan with your actuals.
Right.
There would be a deviation, and whenever there is a deviation, you need to put it back to track, for which there would be a change request, and whenever there is a change request,
project document will be updated.
Great. In order to perform integrated change control, who performs integrated change control? CCB. Okay. Now, in order to perform integrated change control, what would be the most important input? Change request.
Right.
But in order to take a decision on whether to approve or reject the change request, you also need the plan. You also need, in fact, the amount of work which has happened. So the output would be approved change request and change log. In addition, we have change request status update. That is, it could either be approved, it could be rejected.
Right.
In addition, 5, what has happened? They have
change log
as approved change request and
change log.
Okay. Now, clear? Now what happens is that for monitoring and controlling processes, we have seen the same thumb rule. You will be requiring your plan and your work performance data. Output will be the work performance information. And there will be the deviation. That is the amount. And whenever there is a deviation, there will be change request. And whenever there is a change request, project and project document is going to be updated. The same thumb rule which we are going to see is going to be applied across all processes for monitoring and controlling for scope, time, cost. Clear? Now for scope we have how many processes in monitoring and controlling? 2 processes. What are they called? Validate
scope,
and
control
scope. Now validate scope, it was known as verify scope process in edition 4. In edition 5 it is called validate scope. Validate scope is the process of validating the acceptance of the deliverable with respect to the requirement. So in order to validate scope, you require deliverables, you require requirement documentation, you require requirement traceability metrics, and then only you would be giving the acceptance.
Right.
Okay. It could come out as an accepted deliverable, or there could be changes, and whenever there is a change, again the cycle. Now, so we have seen the deliverable coming out of this process, direct and managed project work. Okay.
Right.
Now this deliverable first needs to be validated through control quality. Okay. In edition 4 it was called perform QC. So this is known as, in edition 5 they have renamed it as control quality to maintain harmony across all monitoring and controlling processes. Conceptually it's the same thing. So what happens, the deliverable is fed as an input to control quality, it comes out as a validated deliverable, isn't it? There could be changes, and whenever there is change, project plan document also would be updated. Now at times what happens is that the approved change request also would be there. A change request which has been approved, accepted by the CCB. You also need to ensure as a part of control quality whether the change request has been successfully implemented and incorporated. So the corresponding output for approved change request would be a validated change. Clear the distinction between validated deliverable and validated deliverable in validated deliverable and validated change as outputs of control quality. Now this validated deliverable would be fed as an input to validate scope. Sorry, this comes out as a verified deliverable, and this so this validated deliverable. This validated deliverable would be fed as an input to validate scope, and it comes out as an accepted deliverable. And this accepted deliverable would be fed as an input to close project or phase. It comes out as the final product service result. Before that, if you are doing now under monitoring and controlling for scope, time, for cost, scope, time, whenever there is any deviation with respect to scope, time, cost, that also needs to be captured, isn't it? So there would be change request, and again this cycle of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing. So what happens while you do monitoring and controlling? Changes in your deliverables, modification of your project plan, as and when it will be needed. Okay. And as you are identifying, you could be identifying new stakeholders also. So then you will be getting into
initiating.
Okay. Clear? For HR, did we have any process under monitoring and controlling? No. Under communication? Yes. What was it called? Control communication. Risk? Yes. Control risks. Now we have identified the risk elements, we had planned for the same. Now we had taken action, because we had defined the strategies that we were going to take. Remember, for as planned, what were the strategies that we had taken for planned risk responses? Risk could be positive, it could be negative. If there is a positive, if there is a negative risk, our first endeavor would be to prevent it from happening. That is called avoid. Had it been an opportunity, positive risk, our first endeavor would be to make sure it happens in the project. So that was what was called
exploit.
If it's a negative risk, then what happens? We try to make sure that we are able to minimize the impact.
Mitigate.
We are unable to prevent it. So the next objective would be to minimize the impact. Had it been a positive risk, we would try to make sure that the impact is enhanced. So that is called enhance. Then for negative risk, we try to pass the buck to somebody else. That is transference. Positive risk, sharing, isn't it? And lastly, we have acceptance for both. For negative risk, what happens? We accept that if there is a small amount of the risk, we accept it. For positive risk, what happens is we are not going out of the way to make it happen. If it happens, we have to grab it with both hands.
Secondary and residual.
Yes. Okay. Now, so what happens is that after you've planned as to how you're going to address the risk elements, you need to periodically assess whether the risk elements is still there in the same intensity or less. So that is what we need to do when we do control risk. We have to do reassessments. We need to find out whether the risks are there in the same intensity or not. Clear? So that is what we do in control risk. Again, the same thumb rule. Clear? Now, yeah, for project procurement management, what was the process that we had? It was control procurement. In addition 4, it was called administrative procurement. In addition 5, it is called control procurement. The concept is same. So we are trying to, now the vendor is doing the work for us. So we need to ensure that the vendor is doing the right work for us or not. So we need to monitor and control how the vendor is performing for us. Again, the same thumb rule. Okay. And for project stakeholder management, control stakeholder engagement. Isn't it? Because you need to find out in fact the issues which were there. In fact the issue log is an important input. Why? Because we are trying to find out the issues which were there. Have we been able to resolve those issues? Isn't it? So we would try to control the stakeholders engagement. Isn't it? Then for project procurement management we had close procurement. See, we have seen that what is a project? Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service or result. In the process of delivering a particular product, service or result, it might so happen that a part of the product or a service could have been outsourced to somebody. Isn't it? So you also need to ensure that the procurement process, because you are procuring it from a vendor, from a supplier, so that particular process also needs to be closed. So that closed procurement also needs to happen before you are able to close the project or the phase. Is it clear? The life cycle picture is clear? With inputs, outputs, something, so you are able to correlate it?
Yes.
Clear? Great. So now what we do is that do the exercise on